The powers that be are attempting to use the media to make most of America believe that what's happening right in front of their eyes, economically, spiritually, socially, and politically, is a very complicated equation that can't be explained in 30 seconds or a minute. The sound bites that people are used to hearing. It is actually much simpler than that. But they don't want to tell the truth because it would hurt their feelings and hurt the feelings of others. And it goes to one of the cognitive biases that we talk about over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. How many of you out there in my audience, quick poll, show of hands down in the comment section, have heard the term sunk cost fallacy? It's reasoning that further investment in something is warranted simply based on the fact that you've already put a bunch of money or effort or time into it. And if you stop putting good money after bad, all that's been invested or wasted will be lost, even though it's already lost. You just don't have the ability to convince yourself to accept the fact that it was a mistake, not taking into consideration the overall losses that will be involved in further investment. Now, I know that sounds very wordy, but basically it's the idea that if you've believed something and you've gotten emotionally attached to something and you've believed it for a long time, when you're presented with evidence that it's absolutely fundamentally wrong, people will kick out of their thinking brains into their emotions and still try to hold by this thing because they don't want to believe that they could have been fooled or they've been snookered. It makes them feel like, maybe they're less than everybody else, so they're just not as smart as they thought they were. See, when you've made a mistake, the best thing you can do is accept it and say, okay, I made that mistake. I need to now move forward in a better direction, in a right direction, so I don't lose any more time, money, effort, whatever you've put into it. It's just that simple. Now, what's really going on? See, we made choices in this country. We made choices that were wrong about 60 years ago, 65 years ago. And nobody wants to admit that those choices were wrong. We went in the wrong direction. And now we need to stop and go in another direction. It's the paradox of choice. Well, gosh, if I made the wrong decision back then, how will I know I'll make the right decision this time? Why don't I just stay in the direction that I'm going, even though you know you're heading towards a cliff? Now, breaking news alert. Over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel earlier today, brand new video breaking this down. Breaking down what this is all about. I'm sure a lot of you have probably gotten the idea. We're going to hint at it here in a minute in this video. Stick around towards the end of the video where the censors don't really pay attention. We're going to try to hint at what's really going on in this country and why people are kind of hem-hawing about it and just kind of, beating around the bush. They don't want to tell the truth of what the real problem is. If you'd like to join us at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, this is a perfect time to join. It's early in the month. This is when we reset and we get everybody in the room. The Maquis Foot Soldiers at the $2 a month. The Need to Know Roundtable guys, $5. Unit commanders, brigade commanders, everybody's in the room for these videos. So you can get in at the lowest level and you'll have access to hundreds of videos going back, 2018, 7 years. Hundreds of videos. And here's the best part. It's August, September, October. It'll be the early part of November before you would have to make a decision. Fully refundable, first 90 days, no questions asked. Love to have you over there. Let's start here for a minute. And it'll work ourselves towards that question that people need to ask. After Norway gained independence from Sweden in 1905, I know this sounds crazy, but it's relevant. Prince Karl of Denmark was offered the throne of Norway. He refused to accept that throne unless the people voted for a monarchy over a republic. 79% agreed, and he became King Haakon VII, the only known king ever to be elected by popular vote. This man here is the grandfather of the current king. Believe it or not, he's the grandfather of the current king of Norway, and the current king of Norway has a son an heir apparent, a crown prince who's going to take over after him. So how can you have both a king and voting? And the question would be, can you vote? Can you choose to take away the voting rights of people in the future? Because if you vote for a monarchy and the monarchy is in charge, then they rule by divine right. And one king gets to pass his throne down to the son, to the grandson, to the great-grandson, with no more voting involved. Is that the will of the people? Well, it's the will of a certain group of people, but not all the people, because I'm sure there's people now going, hey, wait a minute, you know what? I'm not a big fan of kings. I don't care what happened in 1905. Those people were wrong, and if they voted for a monarchy, it was only the decency of this king, this particular individual, that has allowed Norway to function like some type of a modern society. It's more of a ceremonial role, but it wasn't then. He just made it so. It's kind of like the decision we made in this country with alcohol. See, I defy anyone out there in my audience to make any kind of a case that alcohol has been a net benefit for our society. There were people a long time ago got together, made a constitutional amendment to get rid of it. And the only reason it was repealed was because of the crime that was involved, the people who didn't want to follow the law. Imagine that now. With all the deportations going on, couldn't you make the allegation that, well, gosh, with all the deportations going on right now, there's going to be a huge amount of money in the black market getting people here? Shouldn't that be the reason that we just forget this whole deportation nonsense? So you can make that argument with any law. The law that the constitutional amendment that banned alcohol was the right choice. Alcohol has been a wildly destructive force for the last 100 years in this country. The people who banned it had the right idea. Even restricting the age to 21, and it wasn't even allowed to be advertised on TV for I don't know how many years. But look at what it's done. The choice we made, just because we had the choice to make, was the wrong choice. And we know it, but we refuse. And here's the key here. This is what ties into the beginning. We know what the wrong choice was, yet we refuse to correct it, because then it would show that, well, gosh, maybe mob rule isn't always the way to go. And if mob rule is not always the way to go, maybe a king is the way to go. This choice as well. I know this bothers a lot of people, but this is just historical fact. People talk about, over in Africa and Islam and, those Middle Eastern countries where they marry girls so young. We did that in this country. We did that in this country for a long, long time. And in Europe. January 1937, Sneedville, Tennessee. Charlie Johns and his 9-year-old bride that stayed together their entire lives. She didn't die until 2006 at the age of 78. 5 boys and 2 girls, happy as a clam. Modern society, modern laws, modern sheriffs would have snatched this guy up in 2 seconds and thrown him in prison. There would have been no 5 boys, no 2 girls, no happy life. And the girl would have gone back to being an orphan. Back to the orphanage, if modern society had its way. It's about decisions. Another great example. See, Norway is a socialist country. Their government controls almost all major industries in Norway. Some people say that, well, it's because of the corruption in Venezuela. Corruption is a choice. Is it not? Why did the Norwegians choose to not be corrupt, but the Venezuelans did? Now, to be fair, the Norwegians never had to deal with a U.S. embargo, U.S. sanctions, or a blockade. Ever. That never happened in Norway. Even though Norway runs its economy just like the Venezuelans want to run theirs. At one time, per capita, in the world, the Venezuelans were the wealthiest by far. Las Vegas made a choice. And this is a really great, not this picture, but the next one we're going to do. It's a great take on what's really happened in Las Vegas. Reports of layoffs at various Las Vegas casinos have been popping up for several months, raising questions about whether the gaming industry is nearing an end. There's a guy that absolutely nails this. It's about choices. It's about good choices, bad choices, accepting bad choices just because the mob made the choice, or it's the choice that we have just accepted to be the right choice for a long time in this country. Las Vegas has been cannibalizing itself for years, long before Trump returned to office. Beloved hotels were torn down in favor of soulless glass towers. Free parking vanished, resort fees skyrocketed, and even basic conveniences like an empty fridge were removed unless you paid extra. The city abandoned its core promise of excess and escape, replacing it with corporate greed and micromanaged misery. Buffets disappeared, comps were gutted, and every corner now screams surcharge. Vegas didn't get destroyed by politics or pandemics. It strangled itself trying to become a luxury mall with slot machines. And here's where he comes really close to saying the truth, but he won't say it out loud. The magic died because they killed it. Now you have to wonder, who is they? Las Vegas tipped workers say their income has fallen by more than half as tourism plunges. See, there's a reason. It's the same thing that happened to Carnival Cruises. Same thing that happened to Carnival Cruises. Hey, and you remember Michael Vick? I know I'm all over the place here, but it's about choices. Remember Michael Vick? The guy that got busted doing the dog fighting thing? And people said that was going to be the end of him, and he's going to be canceled, and that's it. What a horrible, heinous thing he did to those poor, poor animals. Well, he's making six figures, living the life now as an analyst for Fox Sports 1. And nobody has said a word about it. And strangely enough, here we go. Former NFL player LaShawn Johnson charged in the FBI's largest dogfighting bust in U.S. history. 190 pit bulls seized. He doesn't care. You know why? Because in a few years, he's going to be this guy. Because there's different rules for different people. See, the Army thinks it has a spirituality fitness problem. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Here's a great take. Carnival Cruise Lines was forced to implement auto tipping because the amount of customers who refused to tip for anything at all for services grew to an all-time high. Now the non-tippers must go to the front desk and have the tipping shut off in auto gratuity. Huge lines. Virtually everyone that was booking, they seem to be like there's just, maybe it's just me, but gosh, it seems like, could it be? That's probably just me. Look this one up from Just Looking. The line when it's time to turn off the gratuity on a Carnival cruise. You see, we know what the problem is. We know what the problem is. It's as plain as the nose on your face. But people do not want to say, oh my gosh, you know what? Back in the 60s, we blew it. Back in the 1960s, we blew it. We screwed up. We've got to go in a different direction. Why? Sunk cost fallacy. If I made the bad decision back then, gosh, and I've been operating from that, bad position this whole time, how can I, if I decide to change directions, how do I know it'll be the right one? Well, you know that going in the direction you're going is wrong, so anything else has to be better, right? Therein lies the paradox. Join us. Florida Maquis Patreon channel. I'm sure I've probably set off a few people emotionally already. Some people that are upset. Some people that think that I'm just wrong and I'm just making an assumption. No, the evidence is out there now. The evidence is out there. There's been this concerted effort to move money around in this country and take it out of the hands of one group of people and put it in the hands of another group of people in the name of fairness, in the name of, perhaps justice, or, I don't know, Nah, maybe not. Maybe I don't get to say that here. And now, when you put money in the hands of a certain group of people, we know what happens. We know what happens. Voting isn't always the right choice. They voted to have a king. Is that something that should even be a thing, where you can vote away your own rights? Where you can vote to do things that harm people? Well, we have a constitutional amendment in this country that did. Imagine all of the money back in the hands of people. How many people would still be alive? How many lives wouldn't have been destroyed if we had just stuck with the constitutional amendment that banned liquor and just dealt with the criminals? Just dealt with them. I mean, we're doing that today, right? People are saying, we just got to, drop the hammer and deal with this criminal element that's invading our country. We did a lot more to hurt our own country than those folks ever did. If you want to look at the numbers since the 1920s or 30s to now, the last 100 years, the amount of damage done to society, to business, to literally it touches every corner. But yet, nobody is saying that we should go back, right? Nobody's saying that we should go back. And here in this case, we got a huge group of people that's going to go around, pedo. Everywhere they look, it's a pedo over there, it's a pedo over there, it's a pedo over there. There's some girl, little Taye or whatever, I forget what her real name is, but she started being a personality on the internet when she was 10 or 11 years old. And there were people that said, when you get 18, I'm going to pre-order your OnlyFans. This was back in 2018. And she turned, guess what happened? Last couple of days, she turned 18. She made $1 million in one day. Made $1 million in one day. The day she turned 18. But by all means, we can't have any level of socialism, because we can't, of course, have the lifestyle that Norwegians enjoy. Because it's always, let's look at the corruption in Venezuela. Not counting in, of course, the blockades and the sanctions and everything else that has gone into the destruction of Venezuela. We don't talk about that. Choices. Vegas. It's the canary in the coal mine. There's a whole bunch of people out there right now who have a whole lot of money that didn't have it before, and they're destroying the country with it. Just saying. Because they can get away with anything. They can get away with anything. Here's proof. I'll leave it there before I probably get kicked off this platform, but there's more I could tell you about what's going on behind the scenes, especially at YouTube. So God bless all of you for being here, and those of you who showed up at Patreon, thank you so much. You're keeping things going for me. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. See you over at Patreon. See you over at Patreon, and see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.